All right, good day, hi, and welcome. So I got Pegasus here, as I call her, and the big red road beast there, and Unico over there, my moneymaker. Yeah. Strangely enough, everything I have is pretty rough, but it, works. This, if I can figure out why it's running on the two cylinders, which I don't know. I'm going to try to see. I mean, if we're all going to be locked down under COVID over the winter, I'd love to have a place where I could just, okay, well, I'll just dedicate myself into obsessing about this and seeing what I can do with it. Now, I do need another street bike. This is the only motorcycle I have at the current moment. So I would like to leave it for the road, but I also want to go to a bigger bike. The main reason why I want to go to the bigger bike is, you see this size here, that 600cc thing? That's pretty cool. You know what I mean? You don't need any more than that on the road. I'll be honest with you. Like, anything that has more power than this is insane. Like, this is not a scary bike. This is an awesome bike. It's a great sport bike starter, not a great starter bike. Sport bikes are not. I don't recommend any sport bike other than, like, say, like an R3 or a 250 or a 500. That's, has a very tuned down engine. This thing is pretty. This is a very, like you got to be an experienced rider to ride a sport bike, to be honest with you. Maybe, you don't have to have like 10 years experience, but if you're one of those people that you just came out of the course and you've only ride whenever it's sunny out, and maybe like you go up 4 or 5 times a year, less than 1,000 kilometers a year or 600 miles a year on a bike. No, don't get a sport bike. You need more time on it than that. What's going to get you is mainly the low speed handling and the fact that you leg danglers out there, the people that just love going through lights with their legs hanging off the bike, you can't do that with a sport bike. The sport bike responds to dangling things. These bikes respond. That's the problem with them, is because they respond to everything. So you have to have proper riding position all the time. And when you go to turn, a left turn or a right turn, doesn't really matter. If you're not in a proper riding position, the bike will be uneasy. Like any motorcycle, it's just that with the shorter wheelbase, they're a lot less forgiving. So anyway, I don't recommend sport bikes for starter bikes, just because anybody can get them up going fast, but these bikes will get ahead of you very quickly, and these bikes don't care about killing you. You know what I mean? But that said, if there was a sport bike that I would recommend, it'd be like a CBR, a GSXR 600, a CBR 600, or one of these. The thing about this thing is it makes friends everywhere I go, because people just don't see them anywhere. People will actually walk over the bike. Oh my God, a Triumph. Is it like Triumph makes sport bikes? Like a lot of like the old time guys, they have no clue that Triumph's been making sport bikes for pretty much ever and a day. Technically, Triumph's has made sport bikes from the, right, basically from the, the early 1900s, 1903 or what's Triumph, 1907? 1901 or 1899? like Triumph, Indian, Harley, Norton, all these motorcycles, they were Indian. They were all like the pioneers of the brands we see today, right? So maybe not the first bikes, but the first real big bikes, right? That went into full production and stuff like that. But yeah, no, Triumph makes phenomenal sport bikes, which is a shame that they've brought the Daytona series. And here's the thing about the whole Daytona series, where they go back to like 1950s and early 1970s Daytonas to now. It's like there's so many variants of it. Like, this is just one variant of it. I mean, there was the TT 600, which was not called the Daytona, but it was considered a Daytona. And at the same time, its predecessor was the T595, which I think would be a very cool bike to have on the track. However, Triumph built these bikes more to be lived with day to day on the road. Hence why there's such a well-behaved bike on the road. So, but strangely enough, from the second these things came out, they got the braking right on it for its period. And they definitely got the chassis right on it. Like, there's just, this chassis at 150 miles per hour is still solid. It's mounted on a rail. The bike does not feel uneasy. And extreme high speed going through corners. Now, I've never went knee down on this bike. I won't do that on the street. Now, yeah, I've opened it up, not going to admit to too much, but yeah, of course I've opened it up, and done it as safely as possible. Its low speed handling is excellent. Its mid speed handling is excellent. Like I say, this bike can really hold the line going through a corner. That's what makes it so good. You know what I mean? So yeah, this is definitely a no-brainer as a track bike. But what about a drag bike? Well, that's short wheelbase. I'm not sure, but like this bike will power wheelie first gear, second gear, third gear. Not that I'm not a guy that does burnouts and which if you're going to drag race, I guess you're going to be killing your clutch. That's the other thing too, is like, you're going to have to do burnouts to drag race, whatever. But no, this bike will power wheelie. It has the power. I don't know if it'll power wheelie in fourth, even if you really gave it. I don't know. Like there's no traction control or anything on these bikes. But again, my philosophy here is, obviously this bike was really designed to go through corners. It corners amazingly well. And one of the reasons why I bought this bike was because of its reputation for its handling. And it's just smooth handling. That's this bike is awesome. It is awesome. And I love it. That's why I don't want to get rid of it. You know what I mean? And you can find these TT 600s for reasonable money, $1,500 to $1,800, but they might be in rough condition when you get them. Problem with them is it's British. So British means it runs great and super reliable until it's not, and you won't be able to figure out what happened to it, but then one day it works again. It's British, right? But it's not like a Ducati or something like that where, you're going to spend like $2,500 a year just trying to keep it running. No, it's not something like that. But like I say, this bike ran phenomenal until it didn't. And it's got a gremlin in it. Mind you, a lot of that could be due to age, old wiring. The bike did have some glitches in it from the design point of view, whatever. But I do know that this bike would make an excellent track bike. The problem is it's only 600 cc's. And like I say, I'd rather go to the track. If I'm going to spend that money to go to the track, well, I'd rather have 1,000 cc's. Right? And, I'll grow into the 1,000 cc's very quickly. I've been on big bikes before, but, it's just like anything, the more you use it, you just got to know how to take, like once you have experience as a rider on the street or on a track or anything like that, once you learn machines of that, okay, well, how to push a machine so you don't just go gun it right off the get-go and spin the bike out. Like once you learn how to assess a machine, you don't have to worry about its displacement, all that, just its characteristics. Okay, this bike tends to like to turn in quicker. Okay, it tends to like to take a wider line or whatever and then turn in. Like you'll figure that stuff out. This bike just turns in. Like it's like pick the line you want, you've got it. And that stuff I have practiced. You don't have to do it at extreme high speeds either. It's just, some of the roads around here are pretty nasty. I'm gonna do it for time, whatever. But there's another problem. This is the reason why, I'd rather make it a track bike than keep it on the road. Why? Let's talk about that beautiful 600 cc's again. Again, all the power you would ever need on the road. But let's have a look at that logo too. Let's go see the shiny side of it. The problem is this: when you put a 600 cc motorcycle on the road, okay, that's a super sport. It's a blacklisted bike just because it's a super sport, right? Okay, that's problem number one. Problem number two is the difference in insurance between the 1,000 cc bike and the 600 is maybe $200 tops. But you're talking $1,600 versus $1,800 or something like that. I don't know what the next year's rates will be, but up here in Quebec, they use the insurance as a tax to pay for everything. It's no fault insurance, and they're really unfair to the motorcyclists. There's no doubt about that. So it doesn't matter what your driving record is; everybody gets dinged the same. But that's the point. Why not just pay $200 more and get 400 cc's more? You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't need it, but if I'm going to pay that much anyway. So you see the dilemma? So what do you do with a bike like this? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you'll save a little bit of money, but if it's about saving money, you go to like an R3 or something like that, where you're going to pay like $500-600 insurance. Up here, I know everybody, I only pay $80 insurance here, or whatever. Yeah, some places get a really good deal. Other places get way higher. If you live in like a major city, metropolitan city, your insurance is probably way through the roof. So that's the trick. What do you do with a 600 cc bike? Do you put it back on the road and just, you know, pay almost full price anyway? Or do you pay a little bit more and get that extra 400 cc's, you know, which the bike that should be sitting in this stable next spring hopefully will be a 1998 Yamaha R1 or a 1999 Suzuki Hayabusa, if I could find one cheap enough and if I can get the money to coming in to be able to afford it. You know what I mean? It's always about the money, right? So yeah, what do I do with this bike? Well, it takes care of my track bike, and possibly if I run it as is, I could buy an extended swing arm and I can run it on, you know, like I run it on the track. And also if I, you know, have a dual setup for this thing, I could also run it at the drag strip. So one bike does two things. But then you're constantly, okay, I got to take the whole rear end off of this thing and switch it around for a race setup. And then 2 weeks later, go to the drag strip. Okay, well, I got to set it up for that. I'd rather have two bikes. You know what I mean? So this bike would obviously be better suited on the track than it would at the drag strip. Now, you could just leave everything stock, wired up for the track, and just live with the short wheelbase and, you know, basically pulling a unicycle down the drag strip every time you go down. I'll leave it at that. There we go.